Welcome to the show, you guys. I'm really excited about tonight. Hopefully, you guys can hear me now, but I want to just give a shout out to everybody joining us. Hey, Missy and Tanya and Keisha and Berlinda. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, Patrice, thanks for joining. Um, I'm really excited about the show tonight. And I'm telling you, it's just going to be phenomenal. So let me do what I do in the beginning, and I'm going to bring our guests on because I want them to have ample time to share their story and to share the wisdom and encouragement that I know is going to bless your life tonight. And so, as you know, if this is your first time joining me on this Facebook Live show, my name is Monica Spate. I am your flow coach, if you will. I'm your flow coach, and my role and my goal is to help you to master your mind and maximize your life so that you can flow in your divine purpose. I want you to maximize your relationships, your business, your career, whatever it is God is calling you to, whether it's a ministry, whatever it is. I want you to master your mind and then maximize your life so that you can do the work God's called you to do. And so tonight, the guests that we have, are going to be talking about how we do that in relationships, particularly in marriage. But if you're single, if you've been seeing my post this week, stick around because it's really going to help you think about what not to do before you get married. And so you definitely want to stick around for that. And so if you are here and you're joining me live, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you are watching me on the replay, give me a wave. And so I am going to bring our guest in and welcome them, Terronda and Reggie Jackson. Let me give you a quick intro before they come on. Um, I actually had it somewhere and I can't find it. So she gave me a bio, but guess what? I can't find it. So I'm going to tell you what I know about them. I've known Terronda and Reggie for, gosh, years, more than 20 years. And I remember when they first started dating. I remember Terronda when she was, a new Christian, giving her life to Christ, but really walking and struggling in some ways through her own relationship. And I've seen this couple. I've seen this couple go from really challenging, hard times, and if I'm honest, situations that probably many of us would say this is divorce situation right here, like, and would have been justified in it. I've seen them go from those challenges and situations to where they are now, and their relationship and their story is nothing short of a miracle. And I believe their relationship is a platform for God's glory. Like it's phenomenal. And so I can't wait to share them with you and have them share their story. Taronda is a therapist. She is a mother. She's an entrepreneur. She has a t-shirt line. She's a motivational speaker. Reggie was in the military for 1,000 years. And so he is an amazing leader and has such wisdom. He's like somebody's sage or something. Like he has such wisdom. And so I'm excited to have them share with you. So I am going to bring my guest on. I'm so excited. Terronda and Reggie, thank you so much for being on Flow with Monica tonight. And I want to start with, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Terronda and Reggie are also the hosts of Winning with the Jacksons. It's a Facebook Live show where they really talk about how marriage works if you work it. And they really give you some principles and strategies and encouragement and inspiration about how to really sustain your marriage and to thrive and win at your marriage. Their relationship and their story, honestly, is really a testament to what they teach. And so you guys know I don't bring anybody on who can't give you some real good stuff and who has not lived it, who's not been through it. And so I'm excited and welcome Reggie and Terronda. Can you hear me? Can they not hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
I got something when I get the keys. Hold on. I'm muted.
I can hear
I'm
you.
sorry, y'all.
Can you hear me?
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, we're good.
Okay,
It's okay.
good.
Yeah.
Sorry
So,
about that.
yeah, let's get this party started. So, listen, first thing I want to do actually is say welcome again to you guys. Thank you for so much for coming on to the show. I know this is going to be an amazing conversation. And I want you first to share with me, how did you start winning with the, first of all, how long have you been married?
23 years, 24, August 3rd.
August 3rd, it'll be 24 years. And you've been together how long?
Oh man, 26 years we've been
Been
together.
together 26 years, married for 23, almost 24. How did you start? How and why did you start winning with the Jacksons? Can you give me a little bit about that?
Well, it was last year, August 3rd. We were actually driving down to Savannah for our anniversary, and I kept getting a lot. I put on Facebook and made a post about our anniversary, and I was excited about being able to celebrate this many years together. And I kept getting a lot of feedback about it. And so it was just like my inbox was overflowing, and people that had my phone number was texting and asking questions. Hey, how did you do it? You got any tips? You got pointers? Can you help me? And we got questions about, hey, I got this going on. What would you do? They were asking for advice. And so I'm like, man, this is a whole lot. And the Lord just really dropped in my spirit, you have to answer these questions. It just became like a burden to me. You have to answer. And I was like, okay. And we were talking, and the Lord just was like, do a live. Like it just came out of nowhere, do a live video, because it was too much to answer all at one time. But I told him, I said, I promise this. This is my anniversary, but I promise after we leave here, I will answer everyone's questions.
Wow.
And so we came up with the idea to do the Facebook Live. I put a date out there, and the folks met us. It was overwhelming. And then when we were done with the first one, everybody was like, hey, when are you guys going to do this again? And I was like, I hadn't thought about doing it again. And so that's when I was like, okay, I guess we got to do it again, honey. And so we just been doing it. We've okay, what could we naturally commit to and really stick to it with our busy schedule? So I was like, well, maybe once a month would be something that we could commit to and be there for whoever wanted advice or whoever needed help, And all times our inbox and our email, of course, is always open. So we do periodically work with different individuals outside of our monthly live broadcast.
I love it. So you are, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I said, so that's how it was birthed.
I love it. So you are on Facebook Live, and guys, I will make sure I share their information before this live is over. But you were on Facebook Live once a month, the last Thursday of the month. At what time?
Monday.
That's me. I'm Thursday.
The fourth Monday at 7.
The fourth Monday at 7, and so that's when they are on, guys. And make sure you check them out. I'm gonna put their information at the bottom. It's as I said, Terronda's a therapist, so this is her page for her business and with Winning with the Jacksons. So make sure you follow them, like their page, check them out, and I'll put this back up at the end of our show as well. So let's get this party started. So here's what's been happening over the last several weeks. I started doing a series on relationships, and it was really just going to be one show about toxic relationships. Okay. And people were asking for more. And so, me, if people are asking for more, I'm going to meet people where they are, and I'm going to serve them to the best of my ability. So I brought some guests on to talk about different aspects of relationships. And the last one that we had for last week was before and after I do. And so this one is kind of part two of before and after I do. And it was really all about how do we break free from toxicity in our relationships. But with marriage, it's different. Like it's different when you have friendships and you have people that you can break up, like boyfriend, girlfriend type stuff. You can break up, you can go your separate ways, but it's different in marriage. It's different when you've made a commitment before God and each other to stay together, but yet you're dealing with some toxic things, toxic thinking or wounds, and it's impacting your relationship. And so you guys, I know, have been through situations like this, and you've come out on the other side thriving. And so what I wanted to do was really talk to people who were married, who have been married or are married and struggling and working through these hard things in their relationships, and even single people who need to kind of understand some red flags maybe and some pitfalls before they say I do. And so that's where I want you to start. So the first question I'm going to ask before I do that, hey, you guys, I want you to give me some hearts and some likes if you're excited about our show tonight, and also to let me know you're here. And I also like to see hearts flash across the screen because it makes me feel good. I don't know. It's encouraging. So you guys make sure you let me know. And that's pretty much how I know if you guys are getting what you want is your hearts and your likes will tell me, hey, we're hitting we're hitting the nail on the head. So I want to make sure we're meeting you where you are. So here's my first question. This live I entitled From Wounded to Winning in Marriage. Right. And so I want you, can you take me on a journey? The two of you take me on a journey from kind of when you met and got married, and talk about that initial phase when it got kind of hard and it got really ugly in the middle, and then to the point where you are now. Can you walk us through that process?
Hmm. You want to start with me?
You start. You get it.
I'm good at storytelling.
Yeah.
I love this story. It's the most beautiful love story ever. So I never get tired of telling it. So, and I could start way back, but I want to start really first with, I had a car accident 5 days after graduation. I just want to tell you a little background information to give you an idea and an understanding of how God works things out. 5 days after graduation, I had a car accident. Could have died. I ran head on into a pine tree, which left me unable to walk for about a year. I had to relearn how to walk and everything. And so with that, I was unable to go to Delaware State University, which I was going to, and could not go. So when I got well, I found out that, well, on my way to getting well, I found out I was pregnant, of course. I had a son prior to meeting my husband. But I ended up going to Del Tech, and I thought this was like the worst idea, me having an accident. It couldn't have happened at a worse time. You know, I just thought it was the worst thing. But it's just a beautiful example of how everything works for your good. And when the scripture says it, it really means it. Yeah. So I went to Del Tech.
So Del Tech is a community college?
Community college, and I just absolutely did not want to go to a community college. I wanted to go to Del State. That was like my heart's desire, but I wasn't able to go. And so I went to Del Tech, and I actually finished my human services degree first, and I was like, man, I want to do criminal justice. And I was like, well, that don't make sense. Why don't I just go ahead and go and find which four-year university, and four-year university I wanted to go to. And something just wouldn't let me. And it was like, no, you got to explore this law thing. Because I thought I wanted to be a juvenile probation officer. I ended up in criminal justice the next year, and I met this one here. It was really crazy because I had no idea that he was eyeballing me. I had no idea he liked me. He was just a really nice dude. Like, he's a cool kid. And that was, in my mindset, that's what I was thinking. He was 2 years younger than me, and he's a really nice guy. He's a nice young man, you know. And I would have never thought that this would have came from that, you know. And so, long story short, we dated for, we hung out for a little while. He was the only person in Del Tech, I believe, the whole campus who would actually play spades with me because I didn't know how to play. He taught me spades, pool. He was always my teacher, so I'm grateful for that. But that's how we connected, across from a spades table. And then I allowed him to take me to lunch. And then that turned into a series of dates. And my good friend, I have to mention her, Shauna Grant, she said, Terronda, I believe he likes you. And I said, no way, get out of here. And she said, no, he really likes you. And I was like, whatever. And so I just kept blowing it off. And so then, you know, after a few dates, I'm like, I think he might like me too. And so I asked him, hey, what do you want from me? Like, I don't know what you want. I just couldn't believe that somebody was this genuine.
So I want to know, what did you actually say to him?
You sure can I say that on
You can say it on live, yeah. My audience wants real deal. We like stuff, real truth.
I said, but what do you want from me? Do you want a relationship or you just want my cookies? So, I mean, I'm real blunt. I'm straightforward. Anybody that knows me knows I said that. So I asked him straight out, what do you want? And he was like, what kind of dude do you think I am, you know? And I said, well, I don't know, but I want to know. And so he was like, I want a relationship. And so I couldn't do anything. I just turned my head and went back to what I was doing at the desk because I was vice president of student government at that time. And he just was always in the office. But I went back to what I was doing, and I'm like, man, could this really be for real? And even then, I was just like, I don't know. I still doubted it. But I'm like, I don't think he would lie because I had known him to be a genuine person by that point.
Real quick question. Why did you still doubt it?
Past history. And I think the biggest thing is because at that time, now being able to identify this years later, I identified at that time, I did not know what real love looked like. I did not know what it looked like, sounded like, or felt like, not from a man outside of my grandfather. I am unfortunately a daughter who was raised without her father. And so that foundational relationship was never developed. But I thank God for this man here. He has fathered me. He has loved me. He has cared for me. And he has nurtured that little girl part of me. And she's grown up now. She's a grown woman now.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. So you're going into a relationship and you want to be loved. Like whether or not we have ever seen it or felt it or experienced it, we desire it. There's a part of us and all of us that God has given us that desires real love. We're made with that. And so here comes somebody who wants to offer you that. And even in the back of your mind, you're still thinking like, what's up? Like, I can't even accept that. So if you're in watching this live now and you've experienced that, just give me a thumbs up. Like, yeah, I've been in a situation where God's trying to bring something into my life, but my own past, my own history, and my own thinking about myself, perhaps has prevented me from receiving what God has wanted me to have. Is that pretty much what was? So if that's you, put that. Give me a thumbs up. I've been there too. Like we've all been there. So no shame here.
Oh yeah.
So Reggie, I have a question. What was it about Terronda, one that attracted you, but what made you just be like, hey, were you thinking I want to marry you or just thinking I just want a relationship? What was your thought process in this?
That's a really good question. Thanks for asking it. Sharonda, it has that personality as, I mean, she just attracts and she attracts the room. So it's very easy to gravitate to her. And like you said, we were friends. And when I say friends, I mean, we were pretty much, inseparable. I mean, where you seen one, like right around the corner, you seen the other. If you wasn't walking together. But one thing that she felt that she mentioned, I think was Era. I was actually in criminal justice, and the second year you came to my class.
Okay, yeah. But I came into his class.
Yeah. So,
you were in error, he says.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. My bad. I'll take that.
But in all seriousness, in life, we all have these moments, these aha moments. I was working in a factory, and this one guy asked me. He was like, "Well, where do you see yourself a couple of years from now?" And that's something really that I didn't put into perspective until I was like, where do I see myself now? And where do I see myself going forward? And where do I see myself with Terronda in her future as well?
Wow.
Once I analyzed that, we had like a little apartment together. Once I analyzed that, and I was like, man, we got to get out of here. And that's when my thought was. I was like, man, I have to join the military. Well, my goal was to join the military. Do some years and get out or whatever. But I was like, man, it's time for us to go. We have to make a move, and we have to make a move now.
Were you married by then?
No.
You weren't married by then. So you were in a relationship, you were living together, but you were committed to like, hey, this is what I'm deciding I want to do. And then how soon after did you guys get married?
Oh, man. I think we started dating and seriously, and probably like, I think 6 months later, he asked me to marry him. And then 6 months after that, we were married.
Wow.
So actually 4 months after that, we were married. And so it was really quick. And it was just like it just took me by surprise, really, and I'm like, okay, God, you really doing this? Because I had made a vow that I just was working on myself. I had a son, and all I did was school, work, and my child. And when he came along, I was actually abstinent for over a year, and I didn't know what to trust, and I'm like, okay, this has to be God, because I wasn't looking for it, didn't ask for it. Actually, I had kind of warded off relationships, didn't want one, wasn't looking for it.
Yeah.
And here he comes.
Yeah. And it's
So,
amazing how, regardless of where and I want people to hear this, because oftentimes we think our journey to a relationship is a perfect journey. Like we give our life to Christ and we do everything perfectly. We're abstinent the whole time. And this is why God blesses us, is because we've behaved well. And I want people to understand that, in our humanity, we make decisions that aren't always the best. We make them from places that aren't always the best places, but God's factored all of that into our life. And he does not withhold good things from us, even when we're not good. And I think it's important because as you're sharing your story, and you're like, no, I'm warding things off. I don't want this. Your own history, your own pain was involved in this relationship. And God knew that when he sent Reggie into your life. He knew
oh
that, and
yeah,
he knew the pain and the hardship that would happen. Now, again, one thing I realize is we have trials and then we have temptations. Trials,
oh yeah,
are where God's sovereignty is at hand and he's putting us through something. Temptation is from the enemy. But God uses both of them to refine us and to grow us. And so what
yeah,
I wanted to know, so you get married and then you're happy, love is great. And then
yeah.
and it was like, I know we talked about this, like 5 years, you're just like in bliss and it's just,
Oh yeah, it
ah,
was absolutely amazing, like storybook type stuff. Like seriously, we never argued, never had a disagreement. He never raised his voice at me, never. I mean, he still never has. I never even heard this man curse ever in my entire life, ever. Never.
yes, come on, Reggie.
He's never put his hands on me. He's never called me out of my name. Never,
So I have a
never
question
ever.
then. How did you go from that to this area? And I know the story, I know what's happened. I want you to share with our audience. How do you go from that? Like, cause this is wonderful. This is God and look what he's doing. And then you go from that to a period of time where it's just not, I mean, it's
Oh,
not good at all. Like it's
right.
toxic, it's unhealthy. Walk me through that period of time.
You say it.
So, so the first 5 years was, man, it was absolutely amazing. As Monica said, we shared the story, but shortly after that, I found myself alone in a foreign country. We were stationed in Germany, and just lonely. He had, I don't know how many deployments over there, but I fell to temptation. I was tempted and I failed. There was some infidelity on my part, and I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? And I hid it from him at first,
Yeah.
and
Hold
I'm
on,
like, what have
Terronda.
I done?
Real quick, let me pause here real quick. And I want to say this to the people who are watching. So this was you. This wasn't your husband. It was infidelity on your part. And why I wanted to pause here is because we often give men, this bad rep, like, oh my God, men are dogs, men are doing this, they're thinking. And that's not always the case. That
No,
just
it's
is
not.
not always the case. And there are women who have wounds. I think there's a song my girlfriend Tasha shared with me. There are wounds in the way and it impacts the relationship whether you know it or not. And so you were the one who made a decision to yield to temptation.
I did. I did. It was me. It was all me, and it was like I hid it from him, and that was the first time. So there was more than one.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm grateful for God's forgiveness, not only God's forgiveness, but for his forgiveness. I'm grateful for a husband who was able to cover me when I couldn't cover myself, when I felt my own temptation, when I was weak, when my flesh was weak, and all I could see was what I wanted before me, and all I could think about was what I was missing. Um,
Mm.
and so God restored, though. I even went so far as to, on one of these occasions, I pushed him away and I told him, go get somebody else. I don't deserve you. I even went
Wow.
that part. You know, I don't deserve you because I felt so bad and I felt so condemned, not convicted, but condemned. The condemnation was self condemnation, and so I had even told him, you know, go get somebody else because you know I'm not right for you anymore.
Somebody put this in the comments because I think that's a good point. There's a difference between conviction and condemnation. There is a difference between conviction and condemnation. And condemnation always leads you down a path where you actually continue to yield to temptation, which is interesting because you yield to temptation trying to recover. And you cannot recover when you are in a place of self-condemnation. There is a difference between condemnation and conviction.
Absolutely.
Let me see. Somebody said, I'm going to see a couple comments. Somebody said, wow, he's covering. Yes, Reggie was covering. I love that you said he was covering you when you couldn't be covered, like when you
Oh
couldn't
yeah.
cover yourself. I love that. I absolutely love it. So here's my question to you, Reggie. So there's a place where she's unfaithful, and it sounds like you know multiple times. You're a man. Like it's when women, women, I hate to say this, but we're not used to it, but women tend to be the ones who struggle with, the man is stepping out or whatever's happening, and we're always having to go back and, be the ones that say, okay, we'll take you back. We'll do this over and over again. But this is you. How as a man did this impact you, and how you're still married, by the way, you guys are still married and happily married. How did this impact you? And how did you manage your own emotions during that time?
Well, anytime you deal with something on this magnitude, it's you have to do something there's something on the inside of you that happens, and it's very difficult to explain. I mean, I can't put myself in anybody's shoes other than mine. I mean, it's a moment. I mean, that me as a man, I didn't want to talk about. Didn't know who to talk to. Didn't know who to share it to. Really, I mean, you can't talk to it. I mean, with your friends because I mean, we both have the same friends. And, I mean, you don't want your friends to take sides or even hold grudges or some type of misunderstanding. And along with family. I mean, that's just something that you don't want them to get in your business and pretty much dictate my decision as far as what I'm going to do in the future going forward, how I feel, what I'm going to do in that nature. One thing that I took into consideration is, I mean, Terronda mentioned, some deployments when I was going. And granted, you got to think, I mean, these deployments, they are, man, 6 months to a year long. Wow. I mean, they're pretty long. They're pretty extensive. One thing with me, I experienced and witnessed a lot of trauma. And one thing that happens with that is that you start to look at life at a different lens and a different perspective as far as like, okay, I still have this going for me. I'm still alive. I'm still healthy. My family is still healthy. As long as I have that, then I still have the oath of which we both stood on at the altar and took. I mean, I still have that in my mind. I still have my kids. I still have, like I said, my health. And I know once I have that, I know that we still have a future in this. And one thing that you have to understand is you can't make, and one thing I realized that you can't make nobody be with you. If they want to leave, they're going to leave.
Right.
And especially in their mind, that's where it starts at. It's all in the mind.
It's in the mind.
In another place, and it could be meaningless because I mean she's not here in her mind, and I can't control her mind. I mean, I want her to be here. And then once we came to that understanding as far as like where we want to be, then that was just the foundation as far as like going forward. But most importantly, and definitely, I mean, it was a painful experience. And one thing that I think I mentioned earlier, the one thing that the military does is we have mandatory classes which teach like a level of resiliency, and it's called hunting the good stuff. So we always gotta look for the good as far as like what's going on in your life. It's almost like waking up in the morning and going through your words of affirmation as far as like I am somebody, I'm going to do this, the positive, the keynotes. I mean, and get in the mirror and it was like, okay, I can do this. And nothing's going to stop me.
Reggie, you said something. You said a couple things actually that's really powerful. And the first thing you said is it starts in the mind, and oftentimes, we think about our own mind and how we have to think of, really train our own thinking, renew our own mind. But what I hear you saying is you can't control someone else's mind. Because if their mind is to leave or whatever their decision is, you can't control it. You can only control your thinking and your behavior. And I think that's powerful because I think a lot of people, it's interesting in marriage especially, we don't like to admit this. We say things like we can't change another person. We say that. But I think our actions are very much like we're trying to change another person. Like I've been there where I'm trying to get my husband to see a certain thing and see it a certain way. And and my therapist used to say, it's like the unstoppable force meets the immovable object. And we're trying, I'm very much the unstoppable force. He is very much the immovable object. And I'm sometimes trying to force a decision that he doesn't want to make. And I have to release that and say, what can I do, right, to either get my point across, or how do I humble myself and just say, God, handle it. You take care of it and work on me. Work on me and help me not feel the need to try to change someone else. So if you're watching this and you are married and you are struggling in your relationship, here, I love what you said, Reggie. You can't control someone's mind. You have to let God work in their hearts and minds, and you have to be committed to your own healing, your own journey, and really being resilient and making a decision that if you want to make this relationship work and that person's still there, that you'll do that. So here's the thing I have a question, Reggie. So I know that you and Terronda are both Christians, and my audience is primarily believers. That's who I speak to. So the Bible talks about if someone is unfaithful, that you have a right to divorce, right? Because sometimes we like to use stuff to our advantage. But you spoke of something, and you spoke of your oath. So even though biblically you could have had a right to say she's been unfaithful multiple times, and I have a right to leave. Oh, you submitted your rights. You laid down your rights to leave for the sake of loving her and bringing her to a place where she is. What can you share a bit about why did you choose to lay down your own rights and what is that oath about? When you said you took an oath before God, before her, like tell me a little bit about your thinking around that.
Yeah. There's a now that you bring up a biblical sense, there's a scripture in the Bible, and I don't want to paraphrase. Actually, I want to look it up because, like I said, it's in Ephesians. But let me talk about the oath. I mean, the oath. We as we take the oath as husband and wife, one thing that you got to realize as you honor your vows. I mean, and we all said it. Who's married? And we spoke it. And it's the part with. For better or for worse, till death do us part. I mean, we all can be satisfied. I mean, with when it's going good. Right. I mean, but what is it? What does the worst look like? And what are you able to stand on? What are you going to be able to be rooted on when it's all said and done? And with that, I think we should always. Have that in the forefront of our mind. I mean, it can be we as in a relationship can become complacent to the point where she knows she loves me, he knows she loves me. I'll just do this or I'll just do that. But it is a daily occurrence that we have to go through as far as like love and pouring into one another and our expectations. Oh yeah. I just want to find the scripture real fast.
Somebody put this in the comments, and something you just said. We have to choose to love daily.
Yes.
Like that is powerful. I mean, we have to choose every single day that we get up, if we're married or we're in a relationship and we're wanting to be with that person, we have to choose to love daily. So while Reggie's looking up that scripture, Rhonda, here's what I want to ask for my single people out there, right? Even before we get to the kind of end of the story and talk more about kind of how you guys have really overcome this infidelity and the things that you were struggling with in your marriage. What would you say to people who are watching this, right? They're in a relationship or they desire to be in a relationship. How do they avoid some of these? Because, and tell you why I'm at, let me step back. You talked about, and I can't help but to draw this connection between when you first started, first started this live, and you talked about your doubt and your own, kind of your own self-esteem and your own stuff. And as long as Reggie was there with you, it was good. It was when now he was no longer providing you what you needed to feel stable and to feel like love, whatever that love was, that you needed to feel, good about yourself. That's when it kind of breaks down. So what can you tell people who aren't married yet, who are desiring or in a relationship, so that they can recognize some of these things before they say I do?
So I think the most important thing is you have to love yourself. And at the end of the day, what that boils down to is that I did not love myself enough. I did not respect myself enough to hold fast to the vows that I had taken and to the man that loved me and who's taken them along with me. I think another thing is that I did not know my worth because I had always doubted who I was and what I was worth. And I didn't know I have to go back to this part about not knowing my father, because I really think that that's the foundational issue with a lot of young women who choose the wrong man or not necessarily choose, but you receive or you accept the wrong man into your life. It comes from not knowing what it's supposed to look like, feel like, talk like, walk like. We absolutely, even at that point in time, and I was in Christ at that time, and I was learning who I was, but it was like when he was removed from me, I lost a part of who I was because I wasn't rooted and grounded in Christ like I needed to be. But I was trying to root and ground myself in this man.
Oh, hold on.
I felt like saved me.
Yes, say that. So you weren't rooted and grounded in Christ, but you were rooted and grounded in the relationship, in the man, in the person.
In the man, and that was wrong. You ladies, if you don't remember anything else from this live, don't ever root and ground yourself in anyone but Jesus Christ, ever. Because they will change.
Yes.
They will go away.
Yes.
But Christ will be here with you always. And that was my main issue. I was not rooted and grounded in Christ like I should have been. But I was rooted and grounded in the marriage, in the man in the marriage, instead of the Christ in the marriage.
Hold on. Hold on. Somebody put that in the comments, that we have to be rooted in the Christ in the marriage, not the man or the person in the marriage.
Or the woman.
Exactly. So we have to be rooted in Christ in the marriage, not the person in the marriage. That right there is powerful. I've been there when I used to say things like, I remember my husband and I went through a rough patch, and God revealed to me, he said, I am on the throne. I should be on the throne of your heart. You removed me from the throne of your heart, and you replaced your husband as king.
Oh, yeah.
And let me tell you something.
Oh.
It only have to happen one good time.
One
good time. And you get this reality and I love my husband. He's an amazing, which is one of the reasons I love y'all and your marriage, is because I know what it is to be loved and to be loved well and be loved properly. And I know you guys had that. This ain't no, y'all, let me tell y'all something. This is not a show. This is not for Facebook Live. This is real stuff. Like, you can feel the love that they have for each other. Like, it's real stuff. And so, but I'm telling you, when you replace the king of your heart with a person, it will fail you every time. Every time. You can never, ever. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Terronda. Did you find your scripture, Reggie?
Yeah, I did.
Come on, give it to us.
It's Ephesians 5 and 25, and it says, "Husbands, love your wife just as Christ also loved the church, and He gave Himself for her. So that this is man, it's almost. I mean, it's a foundational piece because that's what men are supposed to do as far as sacrificing and promising Himself for her, the marriage and the union that they both had to share.
Wow. That's
Whew.
good.
That Selah right there. Let me just Reggie. Well, I'm almost speechless, and y'all know that never happens. Sacrifice. You. That's a whole nother level of living, y'all. This is what I call flow. Like that right there, that is flow. When you have decided that your life is no longer about you and what you want, your desires, how you feel, and you have committed your life to serving the God who gave you life, one, who gave you purpose, who gives you all great things, good things, who loves you more than anything. And when you've laid everything down to flow and walk in step with the Spirit, that's when you really can see the manifestation of goodness and prosperity and abundance in your life, because you guys are living that. You're living that level of what I call flow, of maximized living, because you went through the process. You didn't stop in the middle of it. You did what Christ did. Christ, and this is what I told Reggie and Terronda yesterday. Their marriage reminds me very much of what Christ did for us. Because what it reminds me of, we are the bride of Christ, right? The church. And Reggie, when you talk, what I hear is it's like what Christ was on the cross and He's being crucified and people are talking about Him. And He decided, I'm not coming down off of this cross because Monica's life is too worth it for me. Tanya's life or Michael's life, who out of my life, Titania's life, Patrice's life, their life is too worth it. I'm not coming off this cross. I am determined to stay here for them. And you were determined to stay in your relationship, regardless of the right you had, right, to do what you wanted to do and to leave and to move on, or to be angry, or to continue not to forgive. And you said, I am sacrificing myself for the good of this relationship and my children. Y'all, that is what Christ likeness looks like. I'm just saying. Yeah. I don't even know what to say.
And I want to say, can I say something
Yeah,
real
you say
quick?
what you
When
want.
she was reading Ephesians 5:25, it talks about, love your wives as Christ loved the church. But if you go to verse 26, this is where the work was done. And verse 26 says that He might sanctify and cleanse her with the washing of water by the word. Come on now. That was the work.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit.
That I didn't even see. I didn't see value in myself, but yet He still did, and I considered myself unworthy and dirty and not good. But He held on because He saw something inside of me.
So you're saying, so you're married, you're in this situation where you're seeing, this infidelity, you're kind of working through this. You decided at some point, it had to be that, hey, I want to stay. Right. Tell me a little bit about that, because something you said, I want to piggyback on, but tell me about, so you go through this period of infidelity and not communicating, and because you're deployed in this separation, how did you come back together? What does that look like? What is the work to do that?
So, I kept pushing him away, and then eventually, I'm like, go get you somebody else. And of course, you can only push somebody away for so long before they just leave it alone. And I had hurt him. I wounded him, and I know that I did. And some of the times I did it on purpose because I was wounded. I wanted to just get him away from me because I was like, I'm unworthy now. I'm not good enough for you. And so we decided, I ended up moving back to Delaware, I want to say July of one year. And he was supposed to deploy in September. They ended up not deploying until the next January. And so pretty much after that was the big split. We were separated for probably about a year and a half, going on 2 years at that point in time. And pretty much he would call and I would answer the phone, hello, hold on. And I would call one of the kids to get the phone. We really didn't have any words for one another. It was hi, bye, hold on, here's the kids, pretty much. What do you need for the kids? Things of that nature. It was nothing. Amazingly, this blissful marriage went from everything to nothing. Um,
Jesus.
and on the outside, I presented to be okay, but I was never okay. I was never okay, not even with what I was doing. I started to feel really, really bad. I felt I was depressed. I was hurt. I literally used other people to make me feel good at that point in time.
Hold the phone. Hold it right there. Say
They
that
were they
again.
were they were substitutes. I used other people to try and make me feel good or to make me feel better. But it was never better because they were substitutes for who I really needed and who I really wanted, which was him.
Gosh.
But I didn't have enough sense or enough forgiveness in my heart to just, say, hey, can you forgive me? I forgive you. Can you forgive me? Can we work on this? It wasn't in me.
Yeah.
But then there was a phone call.
So wait. So you had this. You use substitute. I love this. Somebody put this in the comments. Get rid of the substitutes because they never fulfill. Because this is what I love about God. The design He had for your marriage before all this happened never changed. The design and
Never.
the desire and the purpose that He had for the marriage in the beginning never changed. Regardless of how you went through the relationship and you went through the process, God's plan never changed. And eventually in this journey, He helped you get aligned with what He already had. And He never took from you what He planned for you. And I want somebody to hear that now who's feeling guilty, who's feeling like they're not worthy, like I've done something so bad that God is angry with me, God is mad at me, He doesn't like me anymore. That's not the case. God's purpose and intentions for us is always good. And He wants us. I love the word sanctified. And for those who don't know what that means, it simply means God is growing us into His likeness. And so He's always at work with us, and He's using every single circumstance to bring us to this expected end, to this place where we're winning and thriving and not living in toxicity. So
Absolutely.
you said, a moment came, a phone call came, and what happened?
So the phone call came. It was March 10th. And I don't even know why I still remember the day, but I do. But it was life changing. He literally called, and I did like I normally do. Hello, I heard his voice. Hold on, and he said, wait, hold on. I want to talk to you. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the normal thing that we do. And so he says, I want you to listen. And I was like, okay. So I listened. I said, okay. And I had the phone up to my ear, and he says, I want my family back. I want my wife back.
Mm,
I want my family back. And he said it maybe 2 or 3 times, and I'm sitting there on the phone like in disbelief, really, like, oh my God, did he really just say that? But he did. And so I still, some part of me didn't even believe that. But I took it for what it was worth at that point in time. And shortly after that phone call, I ended everything I was involved in with the substitute. And I'm like, maybe this can really work.
wow.
I had 3 really good friends in my corner during that time period, who really pushed for me and my husband to work things out. And I would, I don't want to hear that I would be fussing. I don't want to hear that. But in the back of my mind, it's really what I wanted. But I just didn't know how to get it. I didn't know how to go about getting it or getting it back. I just felt so unlovable, and felt like I could not be restored from where I had
Wow.
gone.
Wow. So Reggie, what was going on with you when because this has been a period of time, and now you're saying I want my wife back, and you have been, gosh, I'm telling you, it's like Jesus, how you've been pursuing her. Because I don't know a lot of men that would keep doing that when they've been hurt over and over again. So many guys would be like, and understandably so, because it hurts, right? And you decided you want your wife back. How did you go about healing in your relationship? How did you start that process of forgiveness? Because you had to forgive her for how she said, like, I love what you said, Terronda. First of all, y'all give me some fire or something or some hand claps in the comments for their transparency, because this is powerful. You said that you not only wounded him, but sometimes you did it on purpose, right? And we
I
do that
did.
when we're hurting. Sometimes we just lash out and do all kind of things. Reggie, how did you start that process of forgiveness and not beating her up with what she did?
Uh, I mean, no process in this type of situation is easy. I mean, it really does take two willing people. But for me, when I did call, um, I was still deployed at the time, and and like I said, she was still in Delaware. But as for me, it was an eternal peace. As far as me, I was over there. I was deployed, um, and I still have a commitment. I still have a job. I still have to go outside the wire. I still have to
Mm.
do the things that are required of me. Yet and still, I still have her in the back of my mind as far as the motivation for me to get back. It was a I mentioned it earlier as far as like the two things I used to tell my guys, and that's I used to tell them, hate and water will carry you anywhere in the world. If you hate something enough, you're going to work towards that goal, accomplishing that goal, and then going on to the next. So for me, I had to make sure that I was in a good space. I had to make sure that I was secure in what I was doing. I had to make sure that I was able not only to be what you needed once I got back, but also going forward in the future so that it wouldn't happen again.
Woo!
Uh, that aspect.
Whew, Lord have mercy. This is right here is, you know, I just love y'all anyway. But this is real, y'all. Like, I want y'all to know this is a real relationship, a real couple. There is hope. Like, God can do
It
the
is.
work. And this is why I started Flow 2.0. This is why I started the Flow Tribe. Because one of the biggest things that I want people that I know God's called me to understand is there is no challenge, there is no hardship, there is no suffering that God cannot take us through and bring us out on the other side. And I don't mean bring us out on the other side dragging with one leg and we looking all busted and disgusted. No, but he can bring us out thriving. Like, people can look,
Yes.
if you didn't share your story, no one would know that your relationship went through this really tough valley. That's how God brings us out. And you're just a testament to that. So I am just like, when you said, like, you weren't only thinking about how do you restore your relationship, but then you said how to help to ensure it never happens again. Like, you were thinking as a visionary, really, of your marriage. That's Toronto. You got a good one, sis.
Oh,
Don't you,
I know.
girl?
Oh, I know.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Somebody has a question. I want to ask this question. Somebody had a question for you, Reggie. And their question was, I understand there is work to restore the relationship, but what about you as an individual? How did you get to the place of healing? And as of today, do you trust her wholeheartedly?
That's a really good question. As for me, once I got back, I really had to come to the end of myself. I did see a therapist, at a certain point, at a certain stage, who gave me the tools that I needed. I mean, as far as like identifying stuck points, identifying triggers,
Mm.
identifying the things that I can do for myself, um, to to so I won't be on the offense, or if I'm feeling a certain way, I'm not attacking. I'm not. It's almost like reanalyzing things.
Mm.
Also, I read a really good book. It was um, a man's, I think, is the meaning of life. A man's search for meaning, and what it is, it's about it's about a person. He was the man, and he was a part of the. It was the neo-Nazi era, and what he had to do was he had to do the hard thing, and I mean he was literally like killing people in the camp, but he had to find a space in his heart where he was comfortable within himself, and as far as like what he was doing, to the point where one, he knew it was wrong, but two, he had to do it where, I mean, he didn't want to lose his own life. So
Mhm.
I don't want to lose my own life in this process to lose who I am. So I had to understand where I am on the outside looking in,
Mhm.
and where I can be better, as for be a better husband, be a better man.
So you did your, so y'all, I'm just saying, y'all know we talk about therapists probably every week on this show. Because I'm a wholehearted believer in that, they're there for a reason. Get yourself a good one if you need one. Taronda's a therapist, y'all. Check her out, right? I'm telling you, just she does, I think you do it virtually as well.
I do.
So check out her page and make sure if you need help to get some help. And
Mhm.
so the other question was, do you trust her as of today? Do you trust your
Oh,
wife
okay,
wholeheartedly?
I do. One thing is, listen, I've always been a person where I took her word for face value, even when she was doing whatever or lied. I always took her word for face value. She could have done whatever and turned around. Somebody told me, I was like, nah, she wouldn't do that because she told me she didn't do it. I believed her then, and I still believe her now. If I didn't believe her, I mean that would be a whole new can of worms as far as like our commitment towards one another, because it is built off of trust.
Mhm.
Mm, my gosh. Um, so somebody said, so basically you two had to take ownership. Tanya says this, Tanya Lewis Rose. So basically you two had to take ownership of how you felt, regardless to the cause of it, in effort to maintain progress in your marriage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And literally the crazy part is like that's what we did. We literally when we decided that okay, he did some stuff, I did some stuff, nobody was perfect, and we decided that we're gonna do this again. We're gonna try this and see if this can work. Because I loved him and he loved me. We didn't know how. We didn't see the end of it, but we literally sat at a kitchen table, no lie, across from one another with some questions that we had written down. We had planned this little meeting, just me and him. I think it lasted for probably a little over 3 hours.
Wow.
And we hashed it out because I was determined that if I was going to stay in this marriage, I didn't want to be in a place of condemnation, number one, for the rest of the marriage. I wanted to know that he could really love me beyond my flaws and my faults. And
Mm.
I wanted to know if he really forgave me because I was still having a hard time forgiving myself. And what I came to at the end of that was that literally no matter what question I asked him, he was so brutally honest, and so was I. But we literally talked for that long. We decided that we're going to hash everything out. If there's any question you want to ask, we ask it now, and we're not going to bring this up again.
Wow. That's powerful.
So we did.
Powerful. Powerful. So here's another question. So here's what I want you guys to do. If you have questions, comment below. But we're pretty much at an hour. So here's what we're going to do, because you guys know we have the after party in Flow Tribe live. So Terronda and Reggie are going to be with me a little bit longer. You guys just stay on the screen, and I'm going to switch us out to a new group. And if you're a part of Flow Tribe live, just meet me over there, and we're going to take more questions and answers and hear a little bit more from them over there. If you're not in Flow Tribe Live, it is a free Facebook group. All you have to do is answer a couple of questions and you will be automatically admitted into the group. And so that's all you got to do. So if you want to hear more of this conversation and you want to get some more of your questions answered, meet me over there. So we're going to take this last question. I'm going to close out here. Then we're going to go in Flow Tribe Live and we're going to continue a little bit more of this conversation. Y'all good with that? Can we go a little bit longer in there? Okay.
Sure.
So here's the question. Did you believe just because of your vows or just because that this is the type of person you are? In other words, did you believe, I guess in your marriage, and Patrice, I think this is what you're saying, believe in your marriage because of your marriage vows, or is it just because you're that type of person that's so resilient?
Is that right?
Yes, for Reggie. I think so.
What was it again? If I believed in my marriage
Do,
vows, or is it
yeah,
because I'm the person?
yeah. Did you believe just because of your vows, or is it just because of the type of person you are? In other words, did you
Well,
stay? I think what she's asking is, did you stay because of your vows, or did you stay because I'm resilient and I'm just this kind of person that I am? So, you
oh
know,
yeah, I got you. I got you. Uh, no, I stayed because, man, that is actually a good question. Um, I stayed and gave it my all because of my vows. I'm one that um, I don't believe in divorce at all. I don't believe that. That is not why I stood there. Um, and I'm sure that's not why you stood there. I mean,
Right.
this is a lifelong commitment. Yes, we can be resilient in certain areas, and that's good. And I mean that should be a good foundational point. But the root of it is the vows that we took. I mean, this is my partner for life.
mm, this. So, if this conversation has blessed you or is blessing you and is really helping you, give me some fire emojis in the comments and let me know. Um, And what we're going to do, I'm going to close out now because I try to keep these lives to like an hour or so. And so we're a little bit over an hour. And so what I want to do is continue the conversation in Flow Tribe Live, and really get some more questions answered because I had a few questions that I wanted to pose and have you guys share out on. Um, and so if you're watching this, I want to say thank you so much for being a part of Flow with Monica tonight. Thank you so much to our guests, Reggie and Terronda, for their just transparency, authenticity, their honesty. I mean, their resolve. I'm blown away. I love y'all to pieces, but I'm grateful. So I want to thank you, everybody who took the time to watch and who's still hanging on here. And there was a comment from somebody that I wanted to read. A couple of comments. Michael Bell, Pastor Mike says, servanthood in marriage is just not some cute word to get excited about it. Would you, well, I guess it's a question, so now I'm going to answer it because I've kind of read it. Would you say it's genuine selflessness?
I
Yeah,
absolutely would say so.
yeah,
And I say that about him all the time. He is one of the most selfless men that I know, except with the exception of my grandfather. And I always say that often. I have married my grandfather. But this man right here, man, like he will give his last for me and this family, that's just him. Always, no matter where I was at, in life or what I was doing, he always would take care of this family.
And I love that.
Always.
And I want to pick up that and we go into the group because one thing that is interesting about this relationship is that when you were out, you were still providing, is my understanding. But we're not going to go there yet because we're going to end up, that's going to take us down another hole. I
Yeah.
just want to read some of the comments, guys, that people are saying. So just to encourage y'all, if you're not seeing these, I applaud this valiant willingness to serve with honesty and vulnerability. Somebody says, Tasha said, I'm screaming because he did his work. Absolutely. Somebody says prevention and repair. Makisha says, I'm single, but this is really helping me. So, Marlene says, it's a real love story. Yes, I love it. A soldier's heart. Um, Thank God for sending the Jacksons to help us. I love this. I love the transparency. Um, I love this. I just love, guys, you're helping people. You are so helping people. So anyway, I'm gonna let you guys go on my page, and if you're in Flow Tribe Live, go ahead and hop over there, and we're gonna hop over there and finish this conversation. So again, thank you for joining me, and as always, till next time, stay in your flow.